you are a Mexican citizen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you
Yes.
married Michael, and so now you automatically became a U.S. citizen because that's how it works, right? I mean, you just get
Right,
married,
right.
right? That's how it works. Some people think that, and
Super
I can
easy.
understand why. Yeah, you just get married, and now you're an American citizen.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not how it works, and most of us do know that.
Nah. Not even
Um,
kind of close.
not explain to me, and this is why I was excited about talking to you today. And we've kind of
Right.
already talked about this because this process is just amazingly complex.
It
Um,
is. It is.
so we could really sit here and talk about just the process for 2 hours, but I'm not going to take that kind of time from you. But that said, I'm very interested to have you tell those who come across the video, who come and watch, what you had to go through um, to actually become a U.S. citizen.
Okay. Well, Chris, like you said, it's a very complicated process because it's not going, through the process and fill up some paperwork like some people would automatically, I have a marriage certificate and then it says, you're good. You're an American citizen. It starts with getting married, but it takes years, it takes knowledge, and it takes money.
Yeah.
So, basically, right after we became married, we have to fill up a form, which I don't exactly remember the name of the form, but if you go to the website of Immigration Services, and I think it's also Homeland Security,
Mhm.
um, you will type in, I just got married, which form I need to fill up to become a lawful resident of this country.
Okay,
And
so
mhm,
just so step one even um, is actually getting married. So you like step one, you don't have to become a U.S. citizen to marry one, but just because you're
no,
married to one doesn't make you one. And I think that's
no.
important because you can be
Hmm.
married as an American. I can be married to a Mexican citizen,
Hmm.
but that doesn't afford you the same rights. You can't just come over and be
No.
like, I can be an American now. So you have to go through this
Hmm.
process. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it started with that, and also it's kind of complicated to even get the marriage license, which is another type of process because he comes from this country, and the documents that they ask, they're pretty simple, but then I have to prove where I was from, um, why am I, what am I doing here, and
Sure.
if that was my intention coming into this country, which was not, I have a visitor's visa, which that's another document that an immigrant can have without the need to live here, and that's another type of document that people don't know about, most of the time.
Okay.
We do. The people who come from other countries who visit constantly, the US, like I said, I had that visa since I was a baby. So it was pretty normal for me. You just present your visa, you cross over. If you want to go some miles up into the map, then you have to ask for a permit. That's another type of process. But when we got
And you
married, I
had
have,
said you have to ask for this permit every time you come over.
mhm,
So being in,
yes,
close to the border, like you said, you come over pretty frequently
hmm,
for whatever, but you would
yeah.
have to get this permit every time.
Yeah, every time you have to ask for that permit, if it's granted, because not because you ask for it, they're gonna give it to you.
So
Sometimes
it's
that
hard enough to
happens.
get here, and then you
Yeah.
fill out. Then you guys decide to get married. You get
Yes.
married, and so
Uh-huh.
now we have to fill out paperwork
We
so
have
that
to
you
fill out
can
paperwork.
basically legally live here. How long do you have
Yes.
to fill out that paperwork? How long can you stay here now that you're married to a U.S. citizen? How long are you allowed to stay
Hmm.
while you do this paperwork?
So
Okay.
legally, not for long. That's your responsibility, because that shows that you have good faith, into doing things legally.
Mhm.
So you do it, the date that we submitted is the next day of our wedding, you could say. Um, After that,
So you
then
had a honeymoon in the immigration office. That's very romantic. Okay, I'm sorry.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So technically, we did, and after that, you just had to wait. It's a long process, not because you fill up the paperwork, they're gonna grant it. That's another thing. You can do everything, right, like we did. We fill up the paperwork, we send it over, we send the money with it. It was a check. I can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't cheap. But they take your picture, they take your fingerprints, and they ran a background check. So making sure that you're, not a cartel
Okay.
member, something like that. And then after that process, then they call you for an interview, and then the officer, who runs the interview, then, according to their own criteria, um, they grant you, the permanent residence, which is not permanent because you're still under probation for 2 years. So let me know if
Okay.
I'm
So
going
this
too
is the
fast.
first
Yeah.
round. This is the first time you hear the word permanent. And we're going to get into this again so that you can stay here permanently, even though it's not
Permanently.
permanently. It's 2 years
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Now, is this your green card?
Yes, they call it green card, but it's your permanent residency.
Okay.
And
But green card
so
does not equal U.S. citizenship.
Oh no, no, not even kind of close. It's just a way of letting you know that you have a card that says that you can legally live here in the US and stay.
Green card quiz.
Yes.
All right. I have a green card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can work in this country. True or false? Yes.
No, false.
Okay. I can own a residence in the U.S. True or false?
False.
Okay. Um, I can pay taxes. Am actually required to pay taxes in the U.S.
Correct.
But to go back to the first question, I cannot have a job. Correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay. But
Yeah,
I can
so
be here permanently. I can.
yeah,
I yes, for 2 years. Okay.
so
All right.
that exactly. So as part of the process, my husband had to prove that he made enough money to be able to support me and him. I don't remember the minimum amount of salaries that he had to make in a year to prove that he could also, take care of me, because I wasn't going to be able to work for the amount of time where they were going to deliver it if I could, stay here permanently.
Okay.
So,
What year is this happening? By the way, what year did you guys get married?
2015.
Okay, 2015. That's important because this process keeps on and we change administrations and stuff. Not to
Yes,
get political, but
absolutely.
it does make a difference.
No,
And
it
I'll get to
does.
that.
It does. And they're
So
changing
we've got the green
constantly.
card. You have 2 years to be here.
Yeah.
So it only takes 2 years from the time that you get your green card to become a U.S. citizen. True or false?
No. Okay. So,
Another falsity. You can stay
yeah,
here
no.
permanently, which is only 2 years, but it takes longer than that to become a U.S. citizen. There's a lot of loopholes in this system I'm finding.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's false. So, this is what happened. I mean, they give you a permanent resident card, but is under probation. And that's why, the expiration date is only 2 years after the expedition date. Because this is gonna sound horrible. I felt terrible when they gave it to me, because they say you're under probation for these 2 years where you have to prove that your marriage is legit. So I understand, why they do it. Probably a lot of couples in the past, they were fake marriages. They got married, and then after they got married, they got a permanent resident card, and then they split up, and each one goes to their each place. But in
Yeah,
this
because
case,
they were just doing it so you could get your citizenship and leave. And I'm sure
yeah,
that did used to happen, which is why we got these rules now. But this is clearly not
yeah,
what's going on in your case. So you've got your green
no,
card.
Mm-hmm.
You get to be here for 2 years, and so in the meantime, so you have to prove your marriage is legit, and
Mm-hmm.
you're basically waiting at this point to take the test. Is that correct?
Well, the thing is that after that, after 2 years pass, then you apply a new form to take away the restrictions that you have with that 2 year permanent resident card. And
Okay.
those restrictions were basically you're not under probation anymore. Like you prove that you do love your husband, you do want to remain married. So now we're going to give you a green card for 10 years. But you also have to apply for that. And if you don't, you automatically get kicked out of the country.
Okay. After you prove
Yes.
your love to your husband, they give you a
Mm-hmm.
green card, another green card,
You
for
have to
your
apply for
permanent
it.
residence.
Yeah.
But this one lasts how? And this one
10,
lasts how long again?
10 years.
10 years. So
Yes.
first you were here permanently. Permanently in English equaled 2 years, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're here permanently again,
Mm-hmm.
which, as in the English language, the same word has many different definitions. Now permanently means 10 years. We've changed the
Uh-huh.
definition to 10 years. It's still
Uh-huh.
not permanent, but okay.
Yeah, it's still not. So,
You don't apply for it, then adios, to use
yes.
your native language.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
See you. Bye-bye. So we had to apply for it, I think 60 days before the expiration date. And then you apply for that, and of course, it's a new form and more money, you know.
Of course. Yes.
Um, and they also, call you again. They do another interview. Uh, you know, Several questions.
10
Yeah.
years, but you're still not a US citizen. You still
Oh
can't.
no.
Can you get a job yet? You can
Yes.
work now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you get the second one, the 10-year one, you can
Mhm.
work because we want to make
Mhm.
sure that you pay taxes while you're doing this stuff. Oh, we're back to the 10-year card.
Mhm.
Now you can do all the things that you wanted to do, but you're still not a US citizen.
Yes.
Hundreds, if not thousands of dollars later, and
Yes.
years later, we're
Mhm.
still not there.
Yeah, we're still not there. And
So now we're getting into the new administration at this point, right? This
yes,
this last administration, the rules kind of changed.
the
Um,
rules kind of changed, yes. And I was going to remain a permanent resident for longer. I was constantly communicating to my husband. We have already spent, too much money. I recently started working. I wasn't able to work before, so I was in my first year of working. This had happened. Economically, we were, well to apply for a citizenship. So it's like, it's okay. I have a window because for the citizenship, you have to be living legally, as they call it, with a permanent, card
okay.
for 5 years. But because I was married to an American citizen, that time reduces to 3 years. So we were already
Okay, so
married
because
for.
you're married to someone, you actually have less time, even though
Uh-huh.
you're married to a U.S. citizen. So if you hadn't been married, you actually
Uh-huh.
could have voted out longer. I
Yes.
love this. Is amazing. This is why
Make
we
little
needed
note.
to talk about this. Yeah, it's just wow.
Yes.
So the administration changes, and you guys decide we need to probably get this done because things are getting crazy.
Yes. I remember that back then we applied for it because the previous administration said that by August of that year they were going to increase the 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 cost of applying for a citizenship, and
Okay.
the test was going to be even more difficult to pass, which is another part of it. In this process you not only apply, you have to pass a test, a very complex
Yeah, let's
test.
talk about this test real quick.
Okay.
Um, you showed me the book. You still have the book
Yes,
with you
I
as
do
a
have
study
it.
guide? You still have that?
This is my
Yeah,
was my
let's take
best
a look
friend.
at the test.
Yes, so it is
You said it was
divided.
your best friend?
It was my best friend
Okay.
because I don't know, for how long I was rereading it, and I know it was a long process of just like going through it over and over again until it actually, sink in, and you also get really nervous. So it's like, am I
I
going to
imagine,
remember
yeah.
this? So
Tell me
anyway,
about this test. This isn't
this,
just a sit down, fill in the bubbles test. Tell me how
oh
the
no,
testing
not at all.
process works.
Okay, this testing process, it divides into two processes, to say it that well. So and the first one is your civics test, which this little guy right here comes along. So you study first about the principles of American democracy, which is how the Constitution came to be,
Pay
the
attention,
13
folks.
original colonies. Yeah.
The 13 original colonies. I love this part. Look,
Yeah,
first of all, if you actually know the 13 original colonies, go
I
ahead and
do.
hit the like button. If you're like me and could probably could pass 11 to 13, hit the subscribe. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but all right, so you have to know the 13 original colonies. Most Americans do not know
Yes.
the 13 original colonies, but you do, and you're
Yes.
required to.
Yeah, I do.
What else do we have to?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, so you need to know the basics of how the American Constitution came to be. You have to know about how, the independence happened, from Great Britain and why. So, like, one of the basic phrases that I learned was, uh, no, like, taxation without representation. And then a lot of questions pop in my mind, like, then what
because you
happened?
were being taxed,
Mm-hmm.
and no one was representing you.
So I was like, okay. But you also have to know those things, and American history. They teach you about all the wars that the U.S. was involved in, and then you go through what it's called integrated civics, which is geography, like which state is where, and the symbols. So like that's where the 13 original colonies came along, because it's like one of the questions is, why is the American flag, why does it have the 50 stars and 13 stripes? And that's the answer, 50 because of the 50 states and 13 because of the 13 original colonies. And then they ask you, which ones are these? Which it was fun, to learn all these things. And then the other part of the test, all this is oral. This isn't like filling up documenting things. There is a person who asks you, right in front of me, which it can be intimidating.
All this is oral.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
that's
this
important.
isn't.
And I think you said when
Yes.
we talked uh, before that your
Uh-huh.
test starts as soon as you walk in the room because they
It
say
does.
hello,
Mm-hmm.
and that's as soon as they say hello, because it's an oral test, everything you do is being evaluated and looked at, and
Mm-hmm.
graded. So
Yeah.
that's really when the tests begin.
Yes, that's where it begins, because another part of the test, which I think is not another, I think it's within, is the
Okay.
English test. So you have to prove that you speak English. And that is part of how everything starts. You arrive and they say, hello, how are you doing today? Was it hard to come in today? How is the traffic? All those things. So it is part of knowing that you understand English and you can give an answer, a concrete answer that, your English is understandable, blah, blah, blah. And then the other part is reading. They give you a paragraph or several paragraphs. I think they give me like two or three to read. So you have to read it out loud, and then it's writing. And then I remember when I did it, they have this iPad right in front of me. So the officer would tell me, what did he wanted me to write down, and they give you like this pad, like a pen, and then you write down in there, and they ask you also about who is your representative, in the House of Representatives, your senators. I had to know that because, like, if I was living in California or in Ohio, I would have to know who my representative is, from the Ohio, uh, you know, um, state.
Wow.
But because I'm still living in Oklahoma, I had to know the name of my representative, the name of my governor, all those little details, who Nancy Pelosi is, all those things.
Yes, because that's very important to becoming an American citizen. If you think you could pass this test, hit the like button. If you want to see all the answers to it, hit subscribe. No, you won't see the answers, but hit subscribe anyway. Um, I'm telling you, I really don't think I could pass this test, and I think most Americans probably couldn't pass this test. And I don't know
That's
how
funny.
you
And
feel
that's
about that. I'm
funny.
not going to make you answer that question. Um,
Hmm.
but I would like to see Americans pass this test, and it has been brought up in political circles before,
Hmm.
but I know that's kind of part of the political agenda.
Yeah.
So you finally take the test, you pass the test,
I
and
did.
so now you're an American citizen. You've taken the test, you walk out the door, they hand you a certificate and a cigar and shake your
No.
hand and
No.
a Budweiser, and they make you
God,
turn
I
in your
hope.
Corona at the door, and now you get your Budweiser card. This is how it happens.
Right. No, not at all.
Okay.
So now that you passed this test, then to give you a date for your official ceremony, and they call it naturalization ceremony.
Hmm.
And they could be in different places. They could be in a public school. They could be at court. Uh, areas. It could be in
Almost like when you
uh,
go to vote, they have different areas that you can vote in a
mhm,
school, you can vote at a voting
yeah,
center. It's kind of like this thing can be
yes,
other places officially as well. Okay.
yeah. So that was another part of the process because you also need to wait because they decide when to give you your you know your certificate. I was going to receive my certificate of naturalization on that specific date, but you don't know when or where that's going to be, what time, nothing. So you have to wait for that. You have to wait on your mailbox, for several weeks. Sometimes it's months. And then when you receive, your letter, it's still, sometimes a month, 2 or 3, away from your current date. So that was exciting. I have to tell you, I was always checking on my mailbox to know when that was going to happen. And then during that
It's like Publishers
ceremony,
Clearinghouse. Did I win?
um,
Am I going to win? How many magazine
right,
subscriptions do I have to order to
right,
get this certificate? Because I'll do it. I don't care. I just want.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So that was exciting, when the date finally came in. It's a very neat ceremony. You have to pledge the allegiance to the country. You
Mhm.
have to renounce your previous citizenship. You can only swear allegiance to the U.S.
So we're
Uh,
back to the you have to denounce the loyalty to your country. So you're not allowed to like
mhm.
the food of your homeland. You now must like Taco Bell. You have to drink American domestic beers. Crafts are fine now, but no more
Right.
Coronas or
No
Dos
more
Equis. You're
Corona.
not allowed to do
Dos
that.
Equis.
If
No,
should you
no.
have a Corona, you must put a lime in it to designate the fact that you follow American tradition now.
Right.
No, this is just amazing. And I think it's something, again, that most people don't know. I certainly had no clue. I mean, we hear about green cards. I didn't know the limits of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really probably understand the difference between a green card and citizenship. I certainly didn't understand how many definitions of permanent there were in this country. Um,
Right.
but they really kind of, and some from the play devil's advocate would argue they make you earn it.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you have to prove that you love your husband. You also have to prove that you want to be in this country. So we're going to make it a tedious process. Um, and if you're
Yeah.
willing to go through all the steps, we'll give you a chance. But even once you
Mm-hmm.
go through all the steps, we're going to make you wait on the
Mm-hmm.
certificate. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, all I can really say is congratulations on completing
Thank
that.
you.
Congratulations on denouncing your country and everything, your childhood and everything you knew growing up just to live here. Um, it's just that step seems a bit far to me as well, as
It
the
is.
test.
But I
Um,
mean, it's part of the process, you know. I was telling my husband once, I was like, "Oh, I'm an American citizen now," and then we went through all that process, of having my passport and all that, which is also kind of fun. And then, when it came home and I was opening it and everything, and my American passport says country of origin, and it says Mexico.
we want to make
So,
sure that easy there,
mhm.
sister. Like, we know where you came from. Like, don't get carried away, because
Yeah. So
even though
you
you're a
are,
U.S. citizen now, we
uh,
want you to know that we know we're.
yeah, we
Oh
know
boy, yeah,
that.
wow,
Yeah.
um,
So that was
amazing.
fun.
That's yeah. I'll tell you what's fun is having this conversation with you, because you do take it
Oh,
well, and I'm
thank you.
sure it's easier to take, obviously, now that it's over. Um,
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't imagine
Absolutely.
this the stress and stuff that you had to go through.
Right now I'm like easy breezy, I can talk about it, all you want, but oh my God,
Right.
I cannot tell you how stressful it is. It was very, very stressful. I remember, and you can talk to my husband about it, how many nights I was having nightmares of having to leave this country, because it is different when you are in a relationship, I don't want to say a normal relationship, because I'm living in a normal
Okay.
relationship, but let's say a relationship
There's
where
no such
you're,
thing.
yeah, where a marriage is not being tested by the government. When it is being tested by the or an external, subject of like telling you you do qualify to remain in this marriage or you don't qualify to remain in this marriage, is very stressful. It's like somebody else has the steering wheel of your life, and it's
Sure.
very stressful, very sad. It's almost like you can do everything right, follow all these steps, fill up all these forms, and still you have the fear of something happening because they don't like you. I don't know, all these thoughts, that they come and go. And then you're like, maybe I get too nervous. Maybe I said something that I shouldn't say. And then the officer doesn't like me. And then all, whoop, throw into the garbage.
Yeah.
So it was very, very stressful, So now that it's over, I'm very happy, and, I'm at peace. I cannot tell you, how much peace it gave me, that day that I had, everything set up, my passport,
Yeah. Tell me
all,
about that moment. So,
yeah.
uh, the certificate finally comes in the mail. I mean, I'm sure the neighbors are like, the crazy Spanish lady's jumping and she's screaming in the streets. Like, I don't know what's going
Oh,
on. I
we
can't
did a
understand her.
party.
I don't know what
Oh,
she's saying, but
we,
she's
we,
happy.
yes, we threw a party, Chris. Like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
yes,
I
like,
imagine. No, that's got to
yes,
be like, yeah, the
yes.
the rager of all ragers. Like, we're
Oh,
like,
yes.
this is better than my quinceañera. This is the big party.
Check out the podcast every Wednesday on these providers. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and if you ever want to be on the show, just email us at Y-TiSTiCS@gmail.com. Let your voice be heard right here on Y-TiSTiCS. I mean, hey, why not?